Something important has shifted. This is the facelifted Skoda Enyaq. Yes, I know, it's been barely a hot minute since the original finally landed in Australia in September 2024. And now they've gone and changed it. But this is more than just a facelift of an aging mid-sized EV SUV, because the Chechen brand seems to have rediscovered its roots. Now, that's terrific news if you're a buyer, but terrifying news if you are the BYD C-Line 7, Kia EV5 and Tesla Model Y. So join me, Byron Matthew-Darkis, for CarsGuide.com.au as we explore why this is such a big deal. Let's go. This new Enyaq SUV wagon version starts from just $51K before on-road costs, compared to the pre-facelift Enyaq Coupe SUV that was around $70K, and that makes a big difference.
That's right, an electric mid-size SUV from Europe for not much more than the Chinese Geely EX5 and Leapmotor C10 EV SUVs, and less than the BYD C-Line 7, Kia EV5 and Tesla Model Y that are also from China. In fact, the Skoda's about on a par with mid-spec hybrids like the Toyota RAV4 and Hyundai Tucson. Okay, before we get too carried away though, that $51,000 price is for the newly announced Enyaq 60 Select Grade, which has a bit less power at 150 kilowatts and a smaller 63 kilowatt hour battery offering 410 kilometers of range, compared to the $60,000 Enyaq 85 Sportline's 210 kilowatts, 82 kilowatt hour battery and 547 kilometer range. That said, it's still more than enough performance and battery for most buyers on a budget. And being native EVs based on the Volkswagen Group's widespread MEB 400 volt architecture, both are rear-wheel drive with a motor-mounted outback, a bit like the old Skodas of the Cold War era. Speaking of socialist things, please note that some of the Chinese brands do include more kit for less cash, like a glass ceiling, artificial leather upholstery and powered front seats. But the basic Enyaq 60 Select isn't exactly barren, with keyless entry and start, adaptive cruise control, a 13-inch touchscreen with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, a wireless charger, digital radio, heated front seats, front and rear climate controls, a gesture-operated power tailgate, door-mounted umbrella, charging cables, 19-inch alloy wheels and a 7-year warranty. Also fitted are the full ADAS, Advanced Driver Assist Systems, more of which you can find out in the safety section later on. The Racer 85 Sportline adds more muscle, as well as matrix LED headlights, leather and synthetic suede trim, powered, heated and massaging front seats, heated rear seats, 20-inch wheels and more. Plus, for another $5,000, there's the Ultimate Pack, which includes luxuries like a surround view camera, head-up display, premium audio, adaptive dampers and larger alloys. These, along with a fixed glass roof, are also standard in the Enyaq Coupe 85 Sportline. 3 distinct models for now then, with a high-performance Enyaq RS flagship with twin motors and all-wheel drive returning sometime in 2026. And guess what? All of them have a Disney connection that no other EV SUV can match.
Fun fact, this new nose treatment for the Enyaq was actually inspired by the Mandalorian helmet in the Star Wars universe, which I think is pretty cool. Anyway, a much more aerodynamic nose compared to the 2020 design of the previous Enyaq means that you get better efficiency. There's this new LED light treatment with the grille, which I think is cleaner and certainly more functional because it improves airflow, as does these redesigned air curtains. They lower consumption, which is important in an electric vehicle. Around the side, this is a boxier, more SUV wagon style, and that to me speaks of being more practical and family orientated. It also is more consistent with Skoda's no-nonsense brand values because it puts function over form. If you want form over function, go for the still practical Enyaq SUV coupe. Around the back, it's very typical Volkswagen Group design, a large tailgate, a big boot, and lots of space inside. So that's what this is all about, this SUV wagon. It's about getting and transporting 5 people in comfortably within a medium SUV vehicle. So let's check the interior out. Sadly, this isn't the Enyaq 60. Instead, it's the Enyaq 85. So that's the mainstream Sportline model that is around 65k drive away. This being an MEB car shared with the Q4 e-tron, the Cupra Tavascan and the ID.4, it has very similar touch points. And in fact, there's nothing down market or value brand about its presentation. Nice plastics, really functional and interesting design. The Sportline's bucket seats are sensationally comfortable. They support you, hold you in the right places, and of course, cosset you over long journeys. I didn't have a problem at all in these seats, even after a 2-hour drive. Like I said, excellent driving position. The ventilation system is first class. And finally, the multimedia system has been fixed in this MEB family of EVs. So even though a lot of the functionality is still within the touchscreen, there are islands with permanent access to music and Bluetooth and vehicle settings and that sort of thing, and climate control too, of course. And they're backed up by some quite classy toggle switches down here. It's a very difficult car to fault ergonomically. Pedal shifters in this model provide regenerative braking access, as well as the B in the drive selector. There's tons of storage in the cup holders, the flocked door bins, which is a nice touch, by the way. You don't expect flocked door bins in a non-VW branded car like a Skoda, and this comfy armrest. Vision is good out, and overall the ambience and the feel is one of European quality. There aren't shortcuts in this car at all. In fact, it's one of the most thoughtfully presented EVs I've driven, period. Anyway, let's see what I think when I step into the back seat. How's the Serenity in here? This is a spacious backseat area, and of course, Skoda is famous for making great ergonomic rear seat situations. So, honestly, it feels a bit like an Audi in here rather than an Enyaq, because this, again, is a Sportline mid-spec. These lovely suede-like seats. The sports buckets that are quite thin on top, so they let a lot of light in, so you don't feel as hemmed in. And tons of storage, whether we're talking in the door, on the door handle, down here there's this removable cup holder storage thing, which looks a bit tacky, but hey, it does the job. As well as the amenities such as phone holders, map pockets, because you know we all carry maps, face level air vents, heated rear seat controls in this particular model, and the ability to change the temperature. Really good stuff. And of course, there little things like, oh, that was really loud, like the sun blind. And if you want to do your perfect Pretty Woman impression, there's this snap cup holder situation where if you reach in, ow! That's where you can keep your cups and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, tons of space, obviously, even for child adults like me. I'm 178 centimeters tall, and I can fit in each and every one of these three positions. And speaking of space, then there's the boot area, so let's check that out. Oh, by the way, the ergonomics are really good too in terms of entry and exit. This is a very easy car with a high hip point for you to just slide your bottom in and out. So I'm about to do that right now. And meanwhile, in the business end of the Enyaq SUV wagon is this massive load area, significantly larger than the Enyaq Coupe, and certainly more practical in terms of height and width and a low floor. You do get a place to store your charge cables, which come standard in this car, as well as a remote release for the rear seats and hooks to put your shopping and that sort of thing. And while there is extra storage underneath here, you don't get a spare wheel, you just get a tyre repair kit, which I think isn't good enough for any SUV in Australia, whether it's electric or not. Anyway, that's the rear of the Enyaq. Let's check out what's under the bonnet, eh? Righto. Oh, underneath this heavy bonnet, I think they use some old Iron Curtain era steel here. This car shares its underpinnings, including the McPherson strut front suspension and the multi-link rear end, with cars like the Cupra Tavascan, the Volkswagen ID.4 and the Audi Q4 e-tron. So that's a high pedigree in which to be associated with, and I reckon it certainly holds this car up in a very good light. So let's see what it's like to drive. Okay, I'm finally behind the wheel of an Enyaq. This is the Enyaq 85, which has the 82 kilowatt gross, 77 kilowatt net battery, and it's powered by a 210 kilowatt and 545 newton meter electric motor driving the rear wheels. Now, that's a mid-spec. Unfortunately, I couldn't get my hands on the Enyaq 60. You'll have to wait for that one. But on the strength of the Enyaq 85, I'm really impressed. This is a rapid car off the line. I mean, it's 6.7 seconds to 100 officially, and you know, in the real world, it actually feels even stronger than that. Strong acceleration, instant response, and it's really smooth, like super smooth, premium car smooth. So that's a big tick for me. I also like the handling and control. The steering is light. It has just enough feel and interaction for you to feel involved in the way it turns corners, and at high speed is lovely body control. Now we're riding on 20-inch wheels and tyres with standard suspension, as opposed to the 21-inch ultimate version with adaptive dampers. And I've got to say, there is a firm but sufficient ride comfort. Over bumps you do feel a bit of joltiness, and that the one with adaptive dampers smothers out, but it's fine, especially if you've got more people on board than just me driving it. There's a little bit too much road noise coming through though. I'd say that would be probably my biggest dynamic complaint about these cars. Whether it's it's on the 20s or 21, on coarse bitumen like this, there is a bit of road droning. But other than that, it's really hard to fault. Really good progressive brakes, which with a nice amount of regenerative braking control and adaptive driving assist systems that don't interfere and don't distract like they do in so many other EV SUVs, particularly ones from China. So I think Skoda's really got this car sorted. It's been in production for 5 years. They've had time to iron out the bugs, and what we're left with is a very user-friendly, easy and enjoyable EV SUV. Around town, it's got a very tight turning circle as well. It's easy to see out of. It's a confidence-inducing drive, and once again, I hate to harp on it, but it adheres to Skoda values of no nonsense and clever engineering in a user-friendly and accessible way. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of the Enyaq, and I can't wait to drive the cheapest version, because this one is a blast. Like, you would certainly consider it as a very big threat to the Tesla Model Y, Kia EV5 and BYD C-Line 7.
Very good to drive then. That's no surprise given the German engineering going on below, but just how efficient are these Skoda EVs anyway? The official combined energy consumption for the 85 models ranges from 15.5 to 16 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, with the swoopier coupe's slightly superior aerodynamics contributing to the lower figure. The 60 Select's efficiency numbers will be revealed closer to its launch at the end of this year. Charging from empty to full at home using a normal plug could take up to 40 hours or nearly 13 hours with an optional 7 kilowatt wall box, while using a common 50 kilowatt DC fast charger on the go to get a top up to 80% takes around 80 minutes. One of the benefits of the smaller battery Enyaq 60 is that those charging times should take about 20% faster, roughly speaking.
So much for the theory. Out in the real world, we managed to consume around 16.1 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers in the standard sport line and 16.5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers in the ultimate version with the larger 21-inch wheel and tyre package. That's still pretty efficient in my books. And you know what else is pretty good? The ANCAP crash test rating. In Europe, this vehicle, pre-facelift, recorded 5 stars.
Now, whether that applies to the facelifted version, we'll have to wait and see. But the 2026 Enyaq does include all the required ADAS safety, such as autonomous emergency braking, lane support tech, rear cross traffic alert and exit warning, and also features 7 airbags, including one between the front seat occupants. You can read the full Enyaq review at CarsGuide.com.au to find out more on safety.
This is a big deal and a start of a fresh era for Skoda because it's a return to brand values. Its first Toyota RAV4 sized family EV SUV just nails it in terms of value, functionality, driving enjoyment, efficiency and overall performance. Don't forget, you can read the full review at carsguide.com.au, and as always, thanks for watching.